Jadi malam ini malam tahun baru, eh, sendirian di rumah, masak mie sari mie kalau nggak salah. Sari mie dua yang rasa teri dan pakai teri beneran, dan juga masak kerupuk. Lagi duduk di ruang tengah di depan laptop. Seandainya ini live terus banyak yang komentar jadi bisa ngobrol, tapi enggak. Ini terinya. Jadi di kamar ada petasan yang dibeli bulan Februari 2018, dan karena malam ini banyak yang main petasan, apa harus dihidupin atau nggak usah karena takut bahaya. Ini lagi buka Twitter, kenapa parfum jadi trending topik. Lemon juga. Oh, parfum ini Korea. Korea bukan. Oh iya, Korea. Dan ada lemon. Judul lagu kayaknya. Tadi di Indomaret lama banget menentukan mau makan apa. Pengen yang enak tapi nggak tahu apa. Pengen yang mahal tapi mahal. Jadilah mie isi 2 yang cuma harga 3.300. Ini lagi di Facebook. Udah kayak 3 kali lah lihat Best 9 dari Instagram. Tapi aku sendiri udah disable account Instagram udah sebulan. Kayaknya ini hari ke-31. Soalnya waktu itu kalau nggak salah tanggal 1. Dan ternyata masih bisa hidup tanpa Instagram. Lagian Instagram itu penuh dengan netizen maha pintar. Bisa sih pakai Instagram bagus-bagus, follow yang hanya ingin di follow. Tapi ya sulit juga menghindar dari itu. Tadi setting aplikasi ini rekam audio pakai mix eksternal, karena tadi buat vlog ya pakai mic, dan sekarang rekam tanpa mic. Jangan-jangan gak ada audionya. Tadi ngerekam pakai ini. Share gak ya video ini? Nggak pakai nasi karena nggak masak nasi. Kata ayah, normanya itu makan pakai piring, jangan bunyi-bunyi piringnya. ada posting yang baca 3 kali nggak ngerti.
Hey, what is up guys? So I want to start out this week's video with a little story about my formative years. So back when my brother and I were kids, we were the recipients of many pieces of advice and lectures from our father. And out of all those lectures, out of all the advice he gave, there are two main pieces of advice that stick out to me and that I've remembered more than any others. The first of them, which I am sharing here simply because it is the most prominent one in my head, is there are two ways to do something, right and again. And we would often hear this after being told that what we had just done was not good enough and that we did have to go do it again. So that's the one that sticks out the most to me. But only slightly less prominent in my memory was the common command to always put things back exactly as you found them the moment you are done with them. And it is possibly because I heard this so often and found myself grounded or otherwise in trouble because I ran afoul of it, that ever since I have been basically obsessed with being an organized person. It's why I try my best to keep my room as organized as possible despite having a lot of equipment in it. And it's probably why I have color-coded calendars and why I love to go on and on about the beauty of elegantly designed tree-like folder structures on my computer. But of course, there is more to being an organized person than just having color-coded calendars and making sure to keep all of your folders off your computer's desktop. So in today's video, I'm going to be going over 7 things that organized people do that you probably don't do. Now, I can already hear you getting defensive. And in your defense, yes, you probably do at least one of these things, and possibly some of them. But do you do all 7 of them? Well, we're just going to have to go through the list to find out. So let's get started. Item number 1, which is actually not written down on this notebook paper because this is just random numbers for an older video. Organized people do not rely too much on their brains to store information, because organized people understand that our memory is fallible. Things fade, especially when we don't use them. So when they want to remember something, organized people put it into a system that they trust. Now, what exactly separates a system that you can trust from one that you can't, from one that's probably going to fail you? Well, I think there's a few different criteria that we have to list out here. First and foremost, a system that you can trust is one that is not going to lose your data. This immediately rules out your brain because our brains forget things all the time, but it may also rule out a paper notebook if you don't keep that notebook backed up in some other way, such as digitizing it. On the other hand, you've got systems that are designed with data retention in mind. Apps like Evernote or OneNote or Google Drive or anything else that has redundant servers across the world that make sure your data is backed up and safe, even if the computer where you originally recorded that data ends up breaking somehow or gets burned up in a fire or is otherwise destroyed. Secondly, that system needs to be easily accessible. So if you do really want to use paper, make sure it's a paper notebook that you are keeping with you wherever you go. Or if it's a note-taking system, make sure it's a cloud accessible note-taking system, so whatever device you're using at the time, you can easily search it.
Nggak tahu ini settingannya mirror atau enggak. Ini tan kanan, ini tan kiri. Karena kadang kalau lupa di setting, hasil rekamannya jadi kayak cermin. Ini jam 10 kurang 10.
To find what you're looking for. Third, that system needs to be well organized itself and easily searchable. So whatever app or tool you decide to use, make sure that it has a logical file or folder system, make sure it has a usable search tool, and make sure your naming convention makes sense. Secondly, organized people make sure to label things. And they're especially diligent about doing this with things that they aren't going to use or interact with for quite a long time. To give you a very succinct example of this, the desk right next to me has some hardware that I almost never need to use except for instances where I'm moving. So of course, I toss that hardware in a plastic bag. It's in one of my cube organizers. It's safe and sound, but if I didn't label that plastic bag and I go maybe 3 years in between moves, I'm probably not going to remember exactly what that hardware is or what it goes to when I pull it out of that cube organizer and try to figure out what to do with it. And actually, this is a pretty timely example because I've got plans to move out of this apartment in just a few months. But luckily, my past self thought about this and remembered to buy plastic bags with little label areas. So last time I was moving and I put all that hardware into that plastic bag, I remembered to write down that this hardware goes to my desk. So when I go to move in a few months, it's going to be very easy to find it and I'll know exactly what it's used for. Now, this is just one example, and there are probably other things in your life that you should be labeling besides just plastic bags. For example, if you have one of those physical hanging folder organizers, you probably want to use the label that it comes with to write down what should be going in each one of those folders. Item number 3, organized people build what I like to call a mindfulness loop, which constantly goes through the different dependencies in their lives and basically checks up on them. What exactly is dependency? Well, it's pretty much what it sounds like. I'm going to give you a really simple example here. So every single organism in existence, down to the most simple single-cell prokaryotic blob, has things that they depend on. For example, our little blob creature needs a watery environment to move around in and a food source. It doesn't have a whole lot of dependencies in its life, but there are still dependencies, and without them, it will die. And what is true for our blob is true for you as well, except for that you're a much more complicated organism and you have a much more complicated life with many different facets. You've got a lot more dependencies. You have your food, your shelter, your academic goals, your relationships. There are so many things to keep track of. And here is where one of the biggest differences between organized people and disorganized people can be found, because disorganized people are constantly being caught off guard by one of their dependencies and needing maintenance, needing action from them. And on the other hand, organized people are constantly looking ahead and figuring out what those dependencies are going to need in the future. They have this mindfulness loop constantly going on in the back of their mind. My absolute favorite example of a mindfulness loop in action actually comes from my mom. This was a story back from when I was probably 14 or 15 years old. I think I was up in my room on the computer doing something that a 15-year-old does on a computer, and I heard her shout out to me, "Have you brushed your teeth today?" And this was like at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. She was doing something completely unrelated to teeth brushing, and yet she thought to ask me. Why? Well, the health and well-being of her children were one of her main dependencies. And because my mom is an organized person, she got this regular mental notification to check up on that dependency. Now, admittedly, this is one of those mental patterns that does take a lot of time and effort to build. You're not going to be able to flip it on like this.
Oke, kayaknya itu aja. Siapapun yang nonton ini, terima kasih udah nonton. Tapi belum kuputuskan apakah harus di-share apa enggak. Semoga harimu penuh dengan kebahagiaan.